So I'm going to be demonstrating how to bond this wire to a molar band. Now, it is important that we make sure that the wire is not too high on the molar band, or, let me push this down, or too low, or too close to the gum line. So, in this case, I like to have it right in the middle if I can help it. With the molar band this far back, it might be necessary to be closer to the top. Some of the things we're going to be covering is how to bond it, how to add wire, and if we punch a hole through this molar band, how we can fix it. We'll also cover what happens if you damage the rim of the molar band and what complications follow that, or whether or not it's something that's irreparable. So first we're going to bond the wire to the band itself. So I'm going to push that against there, double check my other side to see if I'm even. Right, and I'm applying pressure to the center of that band. So I'm going to apply just a little bit of pressure so I have contact. And I have the settings here on the screen. So at any time I'm going to have those settings on the screen so that you can refer back to them. For the most part, they're going to be the same for every application. Furthermore, you'll see that I don't have argon gas here. I'm going to pull that in. I like having this almost in the way. Is how I get the best argon coverage. So I'm going to angle this a little higher. And so if we're using argon, the first foot pedal depression or trigger is going to be in charge of flowing that gas, and then we have to lift off and then hit it again in order to flow the gas while welding. So first click. Let me get that foot pedal going. Alright, so first click, we're going to hear a solenoid open and flow gas for the amount of time that we have on our machine. In this case, it's 1 second. So if I hit the foot pedal again and then do a weld, then it's going to do a weld and flow gas. Okay, so that looks good. I'm trying to hit it at this angle and push the metal onto the band itself. So I'm not hitting the band, I'm just hitting the wire next to the band and trying to push that metal onto the band itself. Hopefully that's a little bit more apparent as I go along. And I'm going to smooth that out. Okay, and now I'm going to come out here, and you can see that there's some extra here. Now, me personally, I would cut that wire, excess wire off, and then have a nice smooth transition. But sometimes when we're prepping the case, it doesn't happen this way. So I'm going to finish the other side of this TPA so that my work will stay in place. So again, coming in at about a 45-degree angle, and I'm going to hit that wire, and I'm applying a little bit of pressure right here because I want good surface contact. See how there's very little space? The better the contact, the better this is going to go for you. See, that looks a lot better. And now I can go like this and smooth that out. Much better. Again, we're going to get to that in just a second. So in this case, we're going to need to add some wire because I'm trying to weld that and it's not flowing. So I'm in more danger of creating a hole than solving that problem. Right now, I'm using 016 stainless steel wire to fill this in. So I'm going to just place it right here. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to hit the larger wire onto the smaller wire and hit the smaller wire onto the band. And then smooth that out. See how we're able to get that bridged? So I'm going to wiggle this back and forth when I'm done with it. And see if I can close this gap a little better. I can also use the wire to smooth out any rough pieces when we're doing our prep, like this right here. Again, I'm just going to do a weld right there, and now it's smooth, and I won't have to do any post work on that unless I want to. Now, with this particular case, to get underneath, it gets a little bit awkward because we have the arch involved. So that's why I do a seam on this side and on this side, so that we can actually take this case or the appliance off of our case piece. I can finish up the work. I'm going to keep the case nearby because I'm going to check my work afterwards to make sure that nothing drifted on me. But now I can freehand it like so. So when I flip it around, I can see it much easier and move it around. So we're going to do that same thing. We're going to come in at about a 45-degree angle and then hit the wire. And I like hitting it on this inside as well. We don't want any food or anything get stuck in there and cause problems for the patient later. That looks nice. I might add some wire in there again to make it a little bit more unlikely for food to get trapped in there. So again, I'm going to come in with a small wire. I'm going to bend that down to kind of flow around, see if I can get it to work with me. It's bonding more to the larger wire, so I'm going to snap that off and then readjust. I always like doing a single weld or two to kind of smooth that part out. Again, cover that hole up. See, that looks nice. I'm going to pull tension on that. And then we can actually weld this wire around the corner. So I'm actually going to have an easier time if I break this off, do a weld, again smooth that out, and then lay down the wire flat. Alright, break that wire off, smooth it out, just a couple extra welds, and that looks pretty great. Again, on the end, I will follow the same principle where I'll do a series of welds to smooth out this part. And this is purely for the patient's comfort. We can use a file or other means, but I find that the laser does a great job. And the less time I have to be on the grinder or sander, the better. So now that's nice and smooth for them. So we're going to repeat that process over here. I'm going to do a few welds, smooth that out. And to get that same gradual decline to the band, I'm going to add some wire. And again, I'm maintaining that 45 to about 60 degree view angle to my part. Get a couple welds going. Okay. Wiggle this off and see if I can push that wire down onto the band now. Alright, so going back to the angle that I was showing you before, we just extended that larger wire, so let's see if we can get it to flow for us. And it looks like we're doing a good job. All right. All right. That looks really good. All right. So let's go like this. Again, I'm focusing on the wire itself, and then I'm kind of zigzagging where I hit the wire and then I move in towards the band once I see it bridge, because I want that transition to be nice and smooth. Ooh, perfect. So we've punched a hole through it. So what I'm gonna do, if it's a clean hole like this, and there's no balls or metal pieces on the inside, we can simply bring in our fill wire and close it up. So like that. Okay, so similar thing. I'm going to lay down this wire. Hit the larger wire onto the smaller one. Wrap this around. Because a tiny hole like that is not going to jeopardize the strength of this band at all. And if we close this up, might need to add just a tiny bit more right there. And kind of moved a little bit, so I'm going to wiggle this back and forth. Do a weld to smooth it out. Just the very edge of this wire. Let's see if I can push that over. Because this adding of wire isn't really providing additional strength. The initial welds are strong enough to hold this band on. It's purely for function. So comfort for the patient as well as closing up that hole. That hole is going to be filled up with glue from this side, so we don't have to worry about anything on this side. And then I'm going to do a series of welds, again, only to smooth things out and reduce the amount of work that I have to do at the bench, be it a sander or otherwise. So both of these look good, and I'm happy with the result. We can use any additional welds that we see fit in order to smooth things out. Now, I'm going to grab my model and I'm going to place it back on to make sure that it still fits. And in this case, it does. Everything looks good. My angles of my bends are good. If I needed to, I'd get my tools out and make any minor adjustments that I need in order to make this back to where it was. Now, if we just do some minor welds, like I showed you, then the occurrences of that will be very little, if at all. Now, I'm going to pull this off. Since we've shown a hole, the reason why I like having the wire in the middle, as much in the middle as possible, is sometimes, let's say we have wiggly hands, and I won't do it too much so you don't get sick watching this, but let's say I'm welding like this, just smoothing things out, and I kind of jerk and I do that. Now, depending on your doctor or whichever, this could be a complete failure, right? Because that's pretty bad. That can catch food, that can cause problems, right? If the doctor's okay with it, I would round off the edges again so that patient isn't bothered by this. Seeing that doesn't catch me at all. And on the inside, it doesn't look like it's affecting the inner diameter of that at all. So depending on your dentist or orthodontist, that might be acceptable. In my eyes, I would start over because I want to make sure that what's being delivered to the doctor is, or to the patient ultimately, is top of the line. And you can see that we are able to do this appliance in just a few minutes. So it would be well worth your time